Hello again, I am Blunty. Now, as many of you are already aware, I'm sure, deadmau5 also does other things besides music these days, including streaming on Twitch. That is, until now, because he just deleted his Twitch account in what can only be described as a tantrum. A tantrum the likes of which you may be tempted to attribute to the kind of emotional integrity and maturity of a 13-year-old, for example. What happened was he was streaming on Twitch. He was playing PUBG, and him and the guy he was partnered with were being stream sniped. If you don't know what stream sniping is, that's other people watching the stream, figuring out where he is on the map and hunting him down and shooting him. And it's a crappy thing to do. It happens to a lot of sort of the big, I mean, even some small Twitch streamers out there who play these sort of PvP shooter games, PUBG and Apex Legends these days, and Fortnite, if anyone remembers what that is, next to Apex. And it's very, very frustrating when that happens. And a lot of the big Twitch personalities have thrown temper tantrums about being stream sniped. And that's fine. I mean, you're serious about your game, someone F's with you, and you get frustrated, and you may have an outburst of rage and maybe even use some naughty words. I'm no stranger to naughty words, of course. As an Australian, it's part of our cultural heritage to say a word I'm not going to say right now because advertising revenue. See, that's called self-control. There's a word I want to say, I'm not going to say it because there are consequences for saying that word on this particular platform. As there are consequences for saying certain words on the Twitch platform, and the word that deadmau5, or Joel Zimmerman, as he was born, chose to use was a word that starts with F, but not the F-bomb, but the word that starts with F that is used to mock and deride and insult people who are not heterosexual, for example. You know the one I'm talking about. I'm not going to say it. I'm not even going to mime it. It is literally a word I can say with absolute honesty, I have never said in my life. Because for as long as I've been alive, I've been aware that that word is particularly hurtful in a way I don't want to be. I'll use all manner of insults to insult someone, but to throw that word at them, saying you're being a bad person and by extension, you're not hetero. It's a dumb way to insult people, I find. But Twitch has a blanket policy, a no tolerance policy on these kinds of what they call hate words. Words that are used as insults but are actually targeting a specific subculture or group or race or orientation or whatever. You can't use those words on stream. There will be consequences. Everyone who uses the service agrees to these terms as part of the terms of use. So Zimmerman used the word. His account got suspended because he used the word. And then he chucked a hissy fit because he thinks that the way he used the word wasn't offensive. It wasn't a hate crime word the way he used it. I'm going to read you a censored version of his exact quote. He was angry at the stream sniper. Is that some effing gentleman sausage sucking stream sniper flower enthusiast? Florist would have been the better word to use there for comedy effect, I suppose. Flower enthusiast? Florist? They're not even the same thing, are they? Now, again, I don't mind people being abrasive. I'm abrasive, confrontational, aggressive at times, and that rubs people the wrong way. But again, I do it in very specific ways where I choose my words as carefully as possible because I'm aware that some words out there are they're just so hyper-targeted at people who are already spending their lives being diminished or bullied or whatever because of what, who, why they are. And of course, deadmau5, Zimmerman, Joel, if I can call you Joel, has a history of doing this stuff. He has gotten in trouble before on Twitter, raging at someone, calling them an autistic shit. And that's another thing that I don't throw at people. I'm okay with using the word because guess what? yours truly is on the spectrum. Shocker, right? No one would have ever guessed that. But that it's died off more and more recently. But a couple of years ago, it was just the word to go to for millennials who wanted to insult somebody, or autist, or things like that. They would throw at them, and it's no. And then there was the time that Deadmau5, Zimmerman Joel, got himself in trouble for throwing off transphobic remarks. Another area that I personally don't touch. Am I reminding you about which words I don't use in order to say I am a better person than Deadmau5? Yeah. I'm not nearly as talented, but I'm probably a better person, it seems. I'm a bit of a shit, so that's a low bar, Joel. But over on his Reddit, instead of just owning it, saying, okay, I used the word, I wasn't supposed to use the word, I'm suffering the exact prescribed punishment for using the word on a live stream, and Twitter says, don't use this word, I use the word, and Twitter says, if you use this word, you'll be suspended or banned. Oh, I got suspended or banned. Roar! And he chucks a big hissy fit over on the Reddit. Let me read you some of his comments. After he was explaining why he deleted his Twitch account in his little hissy fit, his little tantrum. While we've had some fun partnerships here and there, and they were a great company to work with, I'm gonna have to cut this one short. I don't have the capacity to deal with that kind of shit. You broke the rules, you got punished for breaking the rules, and you're the victim? Okay! I'm right, never wrong. It's a Trumpism, is what it is. Deadmau5 is Trumpisms. Trumping. We need to come up with a verb for that. It's always someone else's fault. It's trumping. Further on this, it doubles down. Of course, there's a huge line between being titled as a fuck over a video game and saying some shit versus mobilizing effing belief standard with what actually is hate speech. Any company that can't tell the difference between what kind of free speech versus actual harm, yeah, not interesting, I'll find something else. So he's saying, because Twitch doesn't put under the microscope every single time someone gets reported for using a word they're not supposed to use to find out whether it was actually hate speech or just some idiot using a hate speech word but not really meaning it as hate speech. This is why they have the blanket ban. You have any idea how many man hours would have to go into examining each and every one of these, and someone would have to decide, is it hate speech or is it someone using a hate speech word that didn't really mean it as hate speech? It's just a word they use. It's like the PewDiePie thing again all over it when he used the N-word. And it was like, whoa, I don't really hate black people. I just use the N-word as an insult. What he is actually saying, when you boil this down, is, I wasn't using a hate word. It's just a word I used to convey hate. Because he was angry at somebody and he was throwing hate their way. And so he used... You see how that's stupid, right, Joel? You see how that's really, really, really stupid. Any minute now, the penny is going to drop for you. They're called hate words because people use them in hate. Whether or not you actually hate gay people or not, it's still not okay to use the FAG word because of the connotations it has. Just like it's not okay for someone who looks like me to use the N word because it has such cultural weight behind it. It is a meaningful thing for someone. You see, Joel, words, and I'm sure you understand this as an artist yourself, although your music doesn't tend to have a lot of powerful words and wordsmithery in it, really. But words are the most powerful tool that humanity has ever invented. Language is what has allowed us to become what we are. Language is essential for communicating nuanced and detailed and finessed specific ideas from in here into someone else's skull cage. That's what language does. Without language, we'd still be little nomadic tribes grunting at each other and screaming when there's a snake over there. You have to respect language. And I know, free speech! Yeah, you're free to say whatever the hell you like in certain societies, yours, for example, North America, but free speech does not mean freedom from consequence of your speech. And Twitch, as a company who is not, it's not a government agency. Your free speech has consequences specifically detailed in the terms you agreed to use when you signed up for the site. If you use this word or this word or this word or this word, that's an automatic suspension. That's just what happens. You agreed to that when you signed up for the service. It's not a free speech issue. It's a consequence issue. You blithering clown. You don't get to say whatever you like and just have everyone go, because they've got free speech too. So they can use their free speech to tell you you're being an effing clown. Like I am right now. Free speech! However, if I did something that is specifically marked against in the YouTube guidelines, for example, I would face those consequences, just like you did. That's where my free speech stops, because it's a private company. Their rules, their service, you have to play by their rules to use their service. It's really simple. I can explain this to a child and have them understand. Hey, little Susie, if you use this thing, you can't do this thing with that thing. Do you understand? Uh-huh. Job done. You can't make excuses for yourself and play the victim, because you're paying the consequences for your actions. You know these words are not words that people react to very, very well. If you use these words, you know people are going to get a little bit sensitive about it, some more than others. Some think it's fine, some don't. But the point is, Twitch don't think it's fine that you use those words, so you don't use those words. I'm repeating myself over and over again because repetition is how we learn. Repetition is how we learn. Repetition helps us remember. Deadmau5. Don't use homophobic slurs. Don't use ableist slurs. Don't use what is the neuronormative whatever it bloody is when you're making fun of people with autism. It's real simple not to use that language. I manage not to use that language all of the time. And look at me. I've managed not to use that language so long, my hair's gone grey. I just don't use it. Never have. Because I'm not a shitty person. Well, I'm a shitty person in some ways, but not in that way. So maybe stop acting like a friggin' child and take your medicine. You little mouse-eared bitch. Thanks for watching. I'm Blunty. I'll catch you next time. I wonder if any Deadmau5 fans are going to piss their pants in my comment section about this. Can't wait. On the other hand, how are you going to argue against the service says don't do this, he did this, he got punished for doing this, then he threw a tantrum. What's your excuse for that? It doesn't even matter whether you think it's okay to use the F word or not. The F word that's a derivative of the word that's used to describe a bundle of sticks, that thing. It doesn't matter if you think it's okay to use that word in anger. You're not allowed to do it on Twitch. That's all there is to it. Dumbass.